Manasseh Azure Awuni a strike back at SML. Na SML MC contract na His Excellency John Dramani Mahama awardase and terminate no. Obi beka sa ahye omo kakra o. Manasseh Azure a strike back after say SML for break your silence. Now this time around more exposé. You be dum at the amamo bekaya last week mo abi and omo lawyer Sefas Boyo ebe press conference say SML any kind of yata ni twaka bia. Manasseh akasafa ho abusiafo you enjoy this one I am Nana Jan 20 pacha obe click subscribe button is here we have bell notification icon you will turn it on video they drop here be the first person to get it video we share nyina no we leave you comment in the comment section if you want like no wa share for so anya bi ahwe the omni say Strategic Mobilisation Limited obekaya last week mo abi and His Excellency John Dramani Mahama elder say yen terminate your contract no na at the time Manasseh Azure beka say contract na president awardase yen terminate no ebe save Ghana to the tune of $500 million enye sika keto na mabodi no Manasseh Azure yen so nchoni a when they started SML investigation ni na wodi a kire ye papa wadom wasuko and the president awardase yen terminate contract no last week na ana omo lawyer Sefas Boyo Esquire ebe ya press conference chenchirenche ana che say kisia jabi OSP wanfa ne ho anche no ana mo se SML omo ne ya kan say former finance minister Kenofrata Ewotwaka no da bi o se onemo nyadwen onemo nyadwen because bi bie no akire say SML omo ne Kenofrata Ewotwaka na se de be ya obeti this episode as anything me sha say se de be am ye no me ma obe 8 minutes do kwa kweti press conference the key highlighter Sefas Boyo the two dwa SML any at a point workers even Kenofrata kwampo ya disservice to SML me nkoni nkoti e ba na family Manasseh Azure emu nchiremu no so abrewa ha Nana Jan TV ni.
If there is one person who has been a disservice to SML, it's Kenofrata. Let me explain to you. If there's one person who has been a disservice to SML and its operation, it's Kenofrata. Remember that this contract is a performance-based contract, okay? For 10 months, from the inception of SML, when they did their work, for 10 months, they were never paid. They were never paid. I mean, I can't begrudge Ken Oforiatta so much with that because he also needed to be sure that it is delivering, SML is delivering what it says it is. So he had to. He made the Ghana Audit Service. They had to audit SML before first payment was done. Now let me tell you even the shocking one, the service to SML. Every equipment that SML brought in, Ken Oforiatta refused to give SML exemption. SML paid for it. This is a company that OS is forcing down Ghanaians' throat that it belongs to Ken Oforiatta or Ken has interest in it. So if he has interest, would he not just allow them to bring, give them exemptions so that the thing will go smoothly? Let's be careful. Let's be careful how we treat other Ghanaians. Evans Eduse also has blood running through his veins. Don't force what is not there to be there. Don't do that. And because he doesn't talk much, you run him down like that. It is untrue that Ken Oforiatta has interest in SML. It's untrue. SML is an independent, it is wholly for Evans Eduse. It's wholly for him. And for a serious investigative organization like the OSP, you do not work with insinuations. You don't say it will appear as if it looks like. You don't work with that. Well, circumstantial evidence, but you see, you have to be, when you're piecing them together, you have to be careful. And then you don't come and run down the person like that. Now, the OSP's assertion that 125 million Ghana cedis is to be recovered by the state from SML has no factual and evidentiary basis. it is mere conjecture. And he's just whipping up unnecessary sentiments against SML. In fact, the letters we have given you, the 14th October letter from GRA, they stated clearly that SML has discharged all his duties. SML did everything. SML has built on their reputation, and they are still in the process of building it. And then you just use few minutes and you want to, you say all kinds of things against the company. That's so unfair. So unfair. And you see, again, the OSP rubbishes every other report. In fact, even the KPMG's report, he rubbishes it. The part that goes in favor of SML. He said, I don't agree with it. I disagree. And so what? KPMG has more knowledge in that field. And they have come out with a report. So you are picking and choosing. In fact, it is the basis for which we took our response to the presidency. Because you see, I believe that the person of the president's caliber, he will not make decisions just like that. So perhaps he hasn't seen our side of the story. So maybe in the principle, in the light of audio parting room, we want him to look at our side of the story. That the assertions that he hasn't worked, SML hasn't worked, SML hasn't done this. We have sent all the documents to him. He should look at it and tell the Ghanaian, is it true that SML didn't work? Yet we're being paid. That is the basis for which we've taken all those documents to the presidency and then also to the attorney general.
Abushafo, SML lawyer, Sefas Buyo, and I'm in Kano. Who said the key highlight, Keneforiata. So number one, Keneforiata, one SML Litra Kabia, near Kanipakra, or had the service to SML, Menke Keneforiata. Nanusi ya na Manasseh Azure Adabraka. Asebena Sefas Okanesano, one no nyadri. Na SML, or evidence, in fact, in this episode, and in this insert, or evidence that be biachre say, Keneforiata had interest in SML. I Manasseh Azure in some of the other two January fresh cra. Was say be biachre say, Jumediana SML for dino. Na Keneforiata were interest room, and again, a day at the porte pan SML for Jumedi na Moody. Ya Ghana say agency ananka existeno, omunye, into a challenge SML say, Omonfa metuja, Jumedi Yankasa Moody, Edema Oma Ghana Moody deserves our contract. No, Manasseh say, and no credit da. Say, Keneforiata was the service to SML, or can send me bring many about 18-19 minutes. Mijano Kwakuti, Manasseh Azure. Top story on Joy 99.7 FM after SML lawyer Nebeka Sayeno on also Akasa for one strike back. Manasseh Azure Awuni.
This conference.
Well, I don't know how SML can dissociate itself from Keneforiata because there are documents to show that Keneforiata was promoting the interest of SML, expanding their contracts to the upstream and mining sectors, when there was evidence that the services they claimed to be providing some were redundant and some were already being taken care of by other companies. When you have the opportunity to speak to SML, ask them exactly what they were checking. Were they checking under declaration or under reporting? They said no and deleted those services from their website when we confronted them with evidence. Were they checking diversion? They said no when we confronted them with evidence and they deleted that from their website. Were they checking dilution? They said no. So what problem was SML solving? They claimed their meters were there to provide assurance. But if you are bringing something to police an existing system, then common sense should tell you that it should be superior to the existing one. Our investigation, which SML's engineers confirmed in our documentary, showed that SML's meters reading were less efficient than the existing ones which the GRA used for taxes. GRA never used SML's readings for taxes. The excuse they gave was that their meters used sound system technology, so it was outside and could not get the exact recording like the existing meters that were used. Now, if you take President Akufo-Addo's white paper on the KPMG report, it said that the services provided by SML, the external price verification and the transaction audit at the ports were already built into GRA's ICOMS So they were redundant. These are the president's words. How much did we pay for that component of the service? 506 million Ghana cedis. So what they are saying, I don't expect them to say anything new. We went to this company with microphones, not guns, and when we asked them to substantiate their own claims, they ran away. They claimed they saved 3 billion. When we asked them, they claimed that the media misquoted them, but it was on their website. So I asked him, this is on your website, so how can you say the media misquoted you? That's when he says in the documentary that, well, me, I don't know of any website matter. So this is a company that got in, got all manner of support from the states. And this is a company that the Public Procurement Authority said didn't have the capacity to deliver. Don't give them single source contracts on 3 occasions.
But then if you listen to the lawyer for SML tonight, he has been raising concerns. In fact, he says that if anything, Ken Ofori-Atta did SML great disservice because he failed to give them any tax cuts.
Well, I don't see how anybody in their right senses would give you tax cut when the contract says every liter of petroleum that comes, you get a fixed percentage, 5 pesos from every liter of petroleum product. The lawyer is claiming, and it is false, that they are paid based on their performance. The contract is stated that every liter of petroleum product that comes, you are entitled to 5 pesos per liter. And this 5 pesos looks small until you realize that we consume billions, hundreds of millions a month, and then I think about 400 million liters a month at the time. Now it may have gotten to over 500. Then at the ports, they were entitled to a fixed percentage. So ask the lawyer to read you the contract that says you will be paid based on how much you recover per month, which ask the lawyer when you are able to get them. The upstream contract said they should be entitled to 0.75% of petroleum every barrel that is produced. So whether or not they do anything, once the contract is signed and they put their meter there, SML does not determine the number of barrels produced. So how come they are entitled to a fixed amount? This is in the contract. So that claim that they are paid based on the performance, it is their performance is false. The gold mining sector, they were to be entitled to 0.5% of every production of gold. So this year that we've made billions because of gold price and everything, they were going to get fixed percentages. So it is not true that they were being paid based on performance.
But then today they said that the OSP's news conference at its best was speculative because they presented reports that showed that they were indeed doing the work and making enough financial savings for the state. Now they're worried about the OSP and how he's conducting himself with news conference. They're concerned that this is damaging their reputation.
This is a company that claims to have reputation but has made false claims and deleted from their website. This is a company that has taken or received payment of 1.4 billion Ghana cedis from the states. So we should hold them responsible. This is a company that if you read pages 157 and 158 of the KPMG report, it summarizes the findings of revenue and also petroleum volumes made, and SML does not feature to contribute anywhere in those pages. It actually said SML recorded the lowest volumes. Okay, so how can this company claim credit for anything?
Now, I've just been going through the KPMG report, and one of the key things that they found was that there was no evidence of the required parliamentary approval for the award of the multi-year contracts to SML. But tonight we've been hearing from SML defend that they did not even need parliamentary approval to go ahead with this deal.
President Akufo-Addo's white paper on the KPMG report also emphasized this. The white paper said they didn't even get board approvals. The white paper said on 3 separate occasions, GRA denied approval for the use of single source to procure that contract, but they went ahead and gave it to SML. So even granted that parliamentary approval was not needed, the state's institution mandated to scrutinize contracts said this contract should not have gotten to SML, but GRA, which SML is quoting to back its claims, went ahead. So I don't know what they are talking about.
And then it's quite shocking, really, some of the revelations they've made today. They're basically defending the whole deal between SML and GRA. According to them, they allege that this administration is trying to introduce another company that will be offering the same services. Based on your investigative findings, is that the case?
SML has always claimed that someone else wanted their job, so they should name the company and then the government official who wants their job.
Now, stay with me, Manasseh, because can you at that news conference, my colleague Kenneth Jesse joins me in the studio, by the way, just to look at some of the key highlights of today's news conference. We just played excerpts for you when we started the show, but there are other key things that have come up. Can walk me through some of the key things that they've raised concerns about in that news conference?
Well, Faustina, so Cephas Boyo, who's the lawyer for SML, also refuted the OSP's accusation that SML had received substantial payments without performing any verifiable work. He referred to official correspondence between the GRA and the company, including a 14th October 2025 letter confirming that SML's monitoring systems, for example, were operational and that the firm had met its contractual obligations from 2019 to 2024. And he continued to say that the payments were made strictly based on certified deliverables and valid reports. And also he cited statistics from the GRA and the Bank of Ghana showing a sharp reduction in the gap between fuel lifting and tax declarations following SML's deployment in mid-2020. He said the improvement was not a coincidence but a direct outcome of the company's real-time monitoring and verification tools. So these are some of the defense that were mounted by a lawyer for SML, Cephas Boyo, who continued to argue at that particular press conference that the OSP's suggestion that the revenue increase was merely due to natural market growth was inaccurate and contradicted by independent fiscal data. And then he said, and I quote, "Facts and numbers don't lie," urging the public to compare pre and post SML revenue trends. So he was essentially urging the public to compare the data and facts for ourselves to see whether what he was saying was the fact or not.
Thank you, Ken. And we still have Manasseh with us. I would just like to read to our audience some of the key findings in this KPMG report. This afternoon, we heard from SML, and they have debunked all this. But this is a report by KPMG. And so I'll just highlight a bit of it so that you get a pictorial view of some of the concerns. And this was also quoted by the OSP, by the way, in the news conference they held a couple of days ago. Now, according to the KPMG report, SML was initially contracted by GRA without the required approval of the Public Procurement Authority and also parliamentary approval for the award for the multi-year contracts. There was no evidence that the 2018-2019 contracts awarded to SML were effected with the required consideration and approval by the GRA board. GRA did not institute monitoring and evaluation processes to assess the performance of SML in respect of transaction audit services. SML delivered partly on the transaction audit service, and GRA may not have obtained all the expected benefits from the service. The KPMG report goes on to state that SML delivered partially on the transaction audit service. And on the external price verification services, GRA may not have obtained all the expected benefits from the service in respect of the measurement of audit for downstream petroleum. And Kenneth is still with me. They highlighted that in that news conference, just responding to this claim. In respect of the measurement of audit for downstream petroleum, there was reported incremental volume that is attributable to the involvement of SML, determined at 1.70 billion litres for the period, which translates to incremental revenue of 2.45 billion attributable to the involvement of SML. They go on to state, this KPMG report, in respect of upstream petroleum audit, SML was yet to deploy and implement its systems to commence operations at the time of the KPMG review. Now, I'll come to you, Ken, because they respond to all these allegations, but let me just get Manasseh's brief reaction when it comes to the audit of the petroleum upstream sector. SML have been defending themselves, but the KPMG report says that as at the time that they deployed their men on the ground, SML was yet to implement its systems to commence operations at the time of KPMG's review. I'm sure you've been digging into this. Tell us more.
Yes, I think KPMG's conclusions and the findings are very shameful if you put them together. I'm saying this because KPMG, we assume, is a reputable international audit organization. So what you've just read, KPMG seems to be, or is saying, that this increment in revenue was attributable to SML's operation. But I just have with me, I mentioned pages 157 and 158 of the KPMG report. If you can find what I'm about to read. This is what KPMG said in that report about the revenues. And this is what he said. He said the following were observed from the analysis of the revenue collected by GRA over the period 2015 to 2023. This was before SML came and after SML. It says, 1, an incremental growth in revenue was observed from 2015 to 2023, except for a decline observed solely in 2017. So, meaning that in the 8-year period, there was always an increment in revenue when SML was not there. SML started in 2022, but they said 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, up to 2020. SML actually started in June 2020. So there was always an incremental revenue. It was only in 2017, and there's a reason for that. 2, one significant contributor to this growth was the increase in the number of taxes over the years, from 2 taxes in the petroleum sector in 2015 to 5 taxes in 2023. The GRA collects only the taxes. So if we had 2 taxes before SML came, and by the time SML came, the taxes increased to 5. And remember, more people bought cars, more people are using petroleum products. I don't know which auditor would attribute that to SML. Number 3, another significant contributor to this growth is the increase in tax rates in 2016, 2019, and 2021. Meaning even after SML came, tax rates, apart from the number of taxes going up, the rates were also going up. So if they were collecting 5%, some were increased to, let's say, 7%. The only time the tax rates dropped was in 2017, which KPMG said corresponded with the only year that taxes or revenue did not increase. Now, the final one says, for any petroleum product lifted to be taxable, it must be declared in ICOMS, that's customs system. GRA records petroleum volumes lifted, taxable and non-taxable, are transmitted from NPA's ERDMS systems into ICOMS, meaning that the measurements SML did were even not used for tax purposes. That is what it said. If you look at the volumes, this is what KPMG says. An average of 400 million liters per month was already being recorded in Ghana in 2019 and in the first quarter of 2020, as per our review of NPA's data. SML claims that their monitoring increased the volumes and that translated into revenue. 2, NPA and GRA recorded a significant decrease in volume lifting in April 2020. That was when COVID-19 came. 3, volumes recorded after April 2020 were constantly above 400 million liters per month.
Okay.
And the final one says, in the latter half of 2020, when SML commenced operations, data comparison from 3 sources indicates that NPA reported a higher annual volumes than both SML and GRA.
Manasseh,
Abujafo, yam fancy SML there, and who said about to us, because said the safe as Kayano, or more the documents are come up presidency, or say presidency crumple and consider some more continue contract. No, the contract the mutual as soon as so Emma or my Croncro Ghana. Manasseh Azure so I react back. I don't know what you make of this video, but you believe you comment in the comment section. We are not liking our channel for so on your be ashe. The only say we are subscribe channel, but subscribe my is here. We are bell notification icon. You will turn it on send a video to drop here. On Sabeka, Dr. Samuel Kojo Jantua, Nana Jantua, the Sukatwa man, Enche, Obeteninka, especially in our next episode right here on Nana Jantua TV, Makramo.